Hi, this is Celeste Taylor, and you found yourself in the Gay Teacher's Lounge. Whether you're throwing clay, picking weeds in your yard, or making a handmade greeting card, I'm so happy you're here, and I hope you get a few takeaways. Grab your favorite beverage and get comfy with us because you belong in the lounge. Today's guest is the kind of teacher every school secretly hopes they have, but sometimes doesn't quite know what to do with. Confident, quick-witted, and unapologetically himself. Robbie teaches fifth grade science and history and has been in the classroom for 8 years. By his own description, he's a sassy homosexual with a talent for quick comebacks and a classroom presence that keeps students laughing even when he isn't trying to be funny. But behind the humor is something deeper, a teacher who understands that representation matters. Being openly gay on campus hasn't always been simple. At one point, he was even reported to his principal simply for being gay, an experience that highlights the very real tensions queer educators can face, particularly with parents who fear differences rather than work to understand them. And yet, the impact he's had on his students speaks louder than those fears ever could. From a student proudly painting his nails after seeing Robbie's, to heartfelt emails from parents about how much their child admires him, Robbie's classroom shows how authenticity can create powerful connections with students. Today, we're talking about what it's really like to be an openly gay teacher, the support and pushback that can come with that visibility, and why showing up authentically in front of students might be one of the most powerful things an educator can do. Welcome to the Gay Teachers Lounge,
My
Robbie.
God, thank you for having me. I'm over here like cheesing so hard. That was a great introduction.
Thank you. Well, you're welcome and welcome. I'm
Thank
so
you for
happy
having
to.
me.
You are my second cis male gay teacher. So welcome, welcome.
Happy to be here. I'm excited to share my story. I've been listening to your podcast every morning on my morning commute to work and hearing all the stories from teachers around the country. I'm really excited to share mine as well.
Awesome. Well, here you go. Now, here we go. So I'm wondering what drew you to teaching and how your dream compares to or not to reality.
Well, I always had teaching in the back of my mind. I feel like everyone kind of does. I can remember as early back as second grade thinking like, ah, teaching would be fun. But that wasn't the plan. I was going to school for psychology. I so desperately wanted to be a therapist, because I wanted to like help people through their problems. As I was going through that process, I realized I don't like hearing people complain about things. So, not the career choice. I was like immediately no. I was like, what do I do now? And like I said, teaching's always been in the back of my mind. So I was like, all right, let me try this. And instantly fell in love with it from like my first day as just like working as a camp counselor and then student teaching. I like, you know how people always like remember your why and like that crap that we always hear.
Yeah.
It's kind of true for me. Like, as much nonsense as I put up with, I enjoy the students and I do feel like that relationship that I get with the students and like the impact I make is enough to keep me going where all the other, am I allowed to curse here?
Of course. Yeah.
Well, all the other bullshit is just, it's worth it. Today, I still feel the same way about teaching. I still love those, when I see those aha moments with my students when they finally get something,
Yeah.
or just like seeing that even if it's not curriculum or academics, just helping them in some way. I remember during student teaching, my cooperating teacher was like the first 2, 3 weeks, she wanted to ease me into it. So she had me just working one-on-one with one of the students just so I could get a feel with the classroom, working with just one kid before she like slowly let go of the reins and let me take over completely. And I kind of one-on-one tutored him in math, which he struggled with incredibly. Like he was almost failing math.
Mm.
And he ended up getting 100 on his next math test. And he cried. He showed his mom at dismissal. She cried. And I was crying. And from that moment on, I was just like, yeah, this is exactly where I'm meant to be.
I love it. And that's so funny. I had the same intention psychology until I got stuck talking with someone at a party once who was dumping all of his life shit on me, and I was like, "Oh no, no, this I'm not doing this." But then I think you and I both forget that we would have been getting paid to listen, not just listen for free, which is probably what you and I still do for free.
The amount of hats that teachers wear, I'm not
Hmm.
even exaggerating. Today, my co-teacher that works lunch duty with me was helping a little second grader get food out of his retainer. So we're also dentists, apparently. Or
I
would that be
was,
orthodontics? I'm not
yeah.
sure.
Well, I was going to ask you because are you at a K5 or are you at a K6?
I'm at a pre-K 8 school.
Oh,
It
pre-K.
is.
What the heck?
And I teach in the town I grew up in. So like I grew up in a system like that. So like that's all I know. I remember getting to high school and hearing other people talk about middle school and
Yeah.
elementary school, and I was like, there's a difference?
So hold on. Are the sixth through eighth graders, or even something eighth graders, in the same part of the campus as the firsties and stuff?
We are one building, 3 floors, because I live in an urban area, so it's like a city
Oh,
type of situation.
oh,
So 3 floors, and like the lower kids are on the lower floors, and just works our way up.
that's so interesting to me. I haven't talked with anyone who teaches in like your kind of system. So it's very interesting to me. But going back to my initial question, because it still is relevant regardless of, I guess, what school you're teaching at. But because I know with fifth graders and 10-year-olds, that's when drama really can start around that age. And so talking with people about their problems. No, I'm sure you are playing counselor a lot during your days.
Oh, definitely. And it's kind of crazy. The problems, like you said, fifth grade, that's when it starts. So the problems they have at the beginning of fifth grade is like they're looking at me like very elementary school, and then by June, it's like, well, my girlfriend cheated on me, and I'm like, I doubt that, but okay.
I don't
Like
care.
the drastic change from September to June is insane.
I mean, we've got to remind ourselves these kids are 10. This is
Yes.
insane. Maybe 11. But I taught sixth grade. They were 11 and then possibly 12 by the end of the year. And my colleagues and I would have to patrol the bathrooms because there was a group of kids who decided they were going to couple up and be very mature and start their relationships, if you know what I mean. And I'm thinking to myself, y'all are 11. Go find a toy in the yard and just play with that shit. It's just like getting very advanced very early.
I agree. Like, I'm not expecting the kids to still think cooties is a thing. Like, we're a little old for that, but I work lunch duty for sixth grade, even though I'm a fifth grade teacher. It's just what my assignment is. And the amount of sixth graders that are sitting together holding hands now, resting their
Yeah.
head on their shoulders. And I'm like, my first attempt at PDA was in high school. And again, I use the word attempt. It wasn't even successful.
Right. That just gives me the ick. Whenever I see kids doing that, it just gives me the ick.
Yeah,
And
and
mm,
I'm trying to ignore it, but I'm low-key staring at these two kids holding hands, and like part of me was like, should I tell them to stop it? Nope, don't get involved. Nope, I just
right.
have to ignore it.
Right. I couldn't imagine. I am thinking about going back to the classroom this upcoming school year at a charter school.
Really?
And I can't do the older kids. I've realized that. I just can't. I need to be with the littles. The littles are my speed. Talk about, you know, dumb stuff. And it's,
I feel the opposite. There are 3 types of people. You either teach elementary, middle, or high school, and I truly believe that I'm a middle school teacher. The little ones, like I feel like I'm gonna break them. Like I'm gonna hurt them. I'm gonna accidentally bump into one of them or step on their foot. Like I student taught in second grade, and I feel like I was walking on eggshells the whole time.
I was gonna say you have that really backward. They would be the ones bumping into you and stepping on your feet.
Yeah, that's fair too. That's true. Oh my God, that's so funny. One of the fifth graders looked at me and they're like, "Mr. Why do your shoes look like old looking. And I was like, you think I'm wearing expensive shoes here? I was like, I got these from Amazon. They are comfy and I don't care what they look like.
Oh my gosh, exactly. I used to work with a lady and she'd wear all designer labels. She was a co-first grade teacher with me, and I'm thinking, I'm not what? Who'd be wearing something worth hundreds of dollars around 6-year-olds?
How far into her career was she? If,
Deep. She was deep.
oh my God.
She had been teaching for at least a decade, but this woman was all about her appearance. And she was all glam every day. And some days I would look at her and I go, hmm, hashtag life goals. And then other days I would look at her and I'd go, what is she doing? Obviously, she's not getting on the carpet with them, right? If she's
No.
in this like tight
No.
dress. But hey, to each her own, to each her own. Who am I?
I envy specifically teachers that get up in the morning and like really just get themselves together before work. I am a wake up. If I did not shower at night, I shower real quick for about 10 minutes and I leave the house with my hair wet, and how I look is how I look. Like the reason I asked how far into teaching she was is I remember my first year I really wanted to come in with an impact. I had my little cardigan sweaters, my bow tie, my hair nice and coiffed, and I'm rolling in khakis now, and like I wore this Wicked shirt today. Like what?
Yes. Okay, and that leads me to, okay, so you have been doing this for a while. I'm wondering when in your career you realized that it was going to be safe for you to be your authentic self, because I'm presuming your first year teaching you were not out, or do I have
No, I
that
was
wrong?
I
Okay.
was not out my first
Okay.
year. No.
Okay.
So I started teaching in September 2018. Like I graduated college, I got hired a month later, which was fantastic.
Hmm.
And I thought that they were just too young for me to even bring that up to them. And also, like, none of their business. I don't care. So I went through the entire first year teaching, didn't say anything. But the closet was made out of glass. Like it's a little obvious, but no one asked me any questions. My second year teaching is the year the world shut down because of COVID. So
Right.
yeah, I got 1 year of teaching in pre-COVID. One.
Baptism and fire for sure.
Oh my God. My first 4 years of teaching, everything was different every single year because of regular teaching and then COVID and
Mm,
then hybrid and then back to
yeah.
another topic. But while I was that year that we were fully remote, I was living with, an ex-boyfriend of mine, and he was a nurse, which, really scary at that time, but so he really spent a lot of time talking to his coworkers. And it just so happened him and his coworker had something in common. She's like, "Oh, you live in this town? So do I. Oh, you have a child in fifth grade? Oh, my boyfriend teaches fifth grade. Oh, your daughter goes to this school? Wait, my boyfriend is this." And he came home and he was like, "Oh my God, my coworker that I've been talking to her about you, her daughter's your student."
Oh my gosh.
And I remember panicking because
Yeah.
I had never told any of my students. None of the parents knew. And I was just like, oh my God, how is this gonna go? And Loki yelled at him. Like he didn't mean any harm, but
I
like I
was
was
gonna
really
say,
upset
how does
about
your
it.
boyfriend not know that you're not out at work?
I don't know.
Or
Well,
he was just,
I think it's because I'm just so authentically me all the time. So
and you
like
didn't tell him.
it just wasn't something we brought up. I don't know. I honestly don't know if he knew I was out or not.
Oh, wow.
But he accidentally outed me to a parent that was his
Yeah.
coworker, and she never said anything, but I was
Oh.
expecting an email. Nothing came out of it. I remember panic calling another friend of mine who was also a gay teacher in another district and like crying to him on the phone, and he was like, "So?" Like he's like, "I'm out to my students. What's the problem?"
Mm.
And it was like that conversation with him where I was like, "Wait, maybe it's not that big of a deal." So
Mhm.
he talked me off that ledge, and then nothing came of it. So I was like, okay, maybe they can handle this part of my life. So the following school year, we go back in person. We're wearing the masks, the plexiglass shield.
Yes.
What an awful time that was. And that's the first time I actually, the first couple days of school where, you give that about me spiel. I told them I was like, I am gay, I have a boyfriend, and I just kind of said that and I like left it at that. Because like you don't need to go in deeper. Like that's
Yeah.
about a little bit about me. Tell me more about you.
Right.
And I got looks from the kids, and they were just kind of like they were all like, but again, Mm, almost nothing came out of it. That was actually, you said in the intro, the time that I got reported.
Yes, that's what I was,
Be-
yeah. Talk about
Yeah, well,
that.
so I, the town I teach in is the town I grew up in, like I said, and I've noticed over the years the Middle Eastern population is starting to grow more, and it's a very diverse town. Like I would say when I grew up, it was a lot of it was, and if I say the wrong terms, excuse me, people don't cancel me, it was a lot of black, white, Hispanic is what I remember growing up. And now there's that Middle Eastern population that's also growing and it's evenly dispersed. It's not like
Okay.
there's one more than the other.
Mm-hmm.
And many Middle Eastern families are very religious.
Hmm.
So I'm guessing this child, not going to say his name, he went home and told his parents. And side note about this family, they had originally went to a Catholic school literally around the corner from us. Like there was like one left in town and it's just like getting smaller and smaller. So people are leaving there. I think it's just getting expensive, honestly. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so they're enrolling their kids into public school. So that was his second year in public school. And the
Okay.
parents didn't say anything to me. They went immediately to my
Mm,
principal
mm,
and basically just said it was inappropriate. I should not disclose that type of information. These are young, susceptible kid, blah, blah, blah. The whole spiel that
right.
a concerned parent would give,
Right.
quote
In
unquote.
quotes, yeah.
And I have to say, my admin handled it so well.
Good.
He squashed it before it even got to me. He heard the parent out. My principal is very good at like he crosses his T's, he dots his I's. He's always in principal mode,
Hmm.
and I love that about him. I wish he would let loose a little bit more, but he heard their concerns and then he said to the parents, "Listen, there's a part of the New Jersey curriculum that incorporates LGBTQIA plus, and also this is a public school. Mr. had every right to say whatever he wanted. And honestly, if you aren't happy with that, then you should enroll your kids back into the Catholic school."
Wow.
I know. I like so
Fire.
I found
Love
out
it.
about he called me into his office the next day just to be like, "Hey, this is what happened. This is how I took care of it. Don't worry about it. I'm just letting you know." He's very transparent like that, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely.
And that was the first time as a teacher I ever experienced any sort of like homophobia or just like
Mm.
discrimination. So what did I do?
Mm.
I'm petty.
Yeah.
So I know this kid's gonna be in my class, like he's in my homeroom specifically, so he sees me the most out of any of his teachers.
Mm.
And I went right onto Amazon and I ordered a big rainbow flag and
Oh
hung it
gosh.
right up the next day. And
Still there to this
oh,
day.
it's not going anywhere.
Yeah. Good for you. Good for you.
Yeah,
And yeah.
I knew I could hang it up because when I was in high school, one of my teachers had, it was my history teacher, he had all the flags of the world hung
Oh,
up in his room. How he fit them all, I don't know. And one of the flags was also a pride flag. So I was like, I know
wow.
this is allowed. So
Nice.
yeah.
Well, luckily you're in what state you're in, versus so many of the other shit states out there
Yes,
right
I'm
now.
very fortunate that the political climate of my state is very, blue. I'm not dealing with a lot of things that I'm hearing other people on who have joined your podcast are dealing with. I'm
Yeah,
very thankful for that. I love hearing those stories. It's kind of crazy to think that it's the same country.
I
Like that's,
know.
some of those places are driving distance from me, and it's wild. It's absolutely wild to hear those stories.
So wild. And I don't want to jump ahead, but it seems like a good segue. I do want to ask you actually, before we jump to this other piece, were those parents an issue for you ever again that school year?
No, not really. I would say I spoke to them often just because that student in particular was a little rambunctious, a little rowdy, like not bad, just
Mm-hmm.
like a typical case of boys will be boys and they need to be reeled in.
Mm.
And this boy was so terrified of his mother,
Ah.
terrified. As my way of classroom management, I'd be like, I will call your mother right now. And there were a couple times I did.
Yeah.
So they were never an issue after that. You could tell that there was a little discomfort when we talked, and there was like that tension that we just didn't discuss.
Mm-hmm.
But
Okay.
in the end, my principal made them realize this is their teacher, deal with it. I mean, in the end, I really liked the kid, and I think he had this respect for me. And that's the ironic part. Like the part that his parents were so quick to be like, I
Yes.
loved him in the end.
Nice.
Actually, I'm just remembering this now. I haven't thought about this in so long. When I did give that spiel about myself, saying that I was gay, he actually did speak up and say, I don't support you. And I went, Okay. Well, I'm still your teacher for the next year, so let's get
What?
it.
A
Yeah, he
10-year-old?
openly said that. I completely forgot. Like, it's just something I haven't thought about in so long, but
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. Hate can really be taught so early, can't it?
Oh, yeah,
Wow.
and so taught so early for like unnecessary reasons. Because, like I said, we had a mutual respect for each other throughout the rest of the school years. He didn't hate me because I was gay. I just happened to be his teacher, who was tough on him, who also happened to be homosexual. Like that's really all it was.
Yeah. Okay, going back to what we were broaching a minute ago, because I know you read My Shadow is Purple by Scott Stuart. At the end of every year, you're telling me that you like to read that book starting off your Pride unit,
Yes.
so students can share what they like most about themselves
Mhm.
along those lines. And because you know a teacher in Georgia was fired for reading that book in her class, right? Did you hear about her?
I didn't hear about that book in particular, but I have heard stories about teachers being fired and stuff.
And she's not even gay. And this is what I love is that these idiots are just even firing straight. I'm sorry, it's not funny, but straight teachers, allies. I should not laugh. But it is fucking funny to me that I
They're
think
just
that it's
firing everyone.
they're just firing everyone. They're just
Yeah,
fucking
literally.
firing everyone. And and she bought the book at the school's scholastic book fair. Explain that. What? What? They're fucking selling the book at the fair. She buys it. She was a fifth grade teacher too, like you, and she was a gate teacher. So her kids were already advanced, and she's asked the class out of all the four. I think she bought 4 or 5 books at that one fair, and she said, "What book do you want me to read? I'll do a read aloud with y'all with this one of the books." And they picked that book. So essentially, her class got her fired. No, just kidding.
Oh my God. It's crazy how doing your job can get you fired
Yeah,
in this climate.
yeah. Yes.
That's so unfortunate. She bought it at the Scholastic Book Fair. I can't believe that. My Scholastic Book Fair was literally today, and I didn't get a chance to go. I
Mm,
have to see. I never thought about any queer books being there. I need to look tomorrow.
yeah, I think they're getting a little bit more diverse in that regard, but
I mean, I hope so.
yeah, you would hope so. Well, I mean, be careful with what
We're
you buy,
taking
though.
steps backwards. Silly me. Like,
Yeah. My Shadow is Purple, great book. Also, I believe Scott Stewart is not even gay, which is also funny. There is a Scott Stewart who is gay, though, who I found on the internet. Not to be confused with the author, Scott Stewart, who is married to a woman with a kid.
I mean,
So,
that's the whole definition of an ally. You don't have to be gay to be an ally.
right, right.
You have to be a
Like,
good person. That's the only requirement. Be a good person.
right? And if more people were like him, because I think it's his son who may be queer, and he wrote the books to support
Oh, he
his
wrote
son.
about his son. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know the lore behind the book. I just thought the book
Yeah.
was. I saw the book on TikTok. I thought it was really cute, and I was like, I'm bringing this to my classroom.
Yeah. No,
I
it's a
love
great book.
that.
And I'm so beside myself when I hear about these teachers. I mean, it's only been, not only, but it's been 2 teachers I know who have been fired. One lost her license. The
Oh
one they took her
God.
license away from her. At least Katie Rinderle, and she's in Georgia. At least she's teaching at another school in another district right now. So it's not like her whole fucking life was
That's so
bombed, you know?
sad.
I know. Well, because I know being a fifth grade teacher, you deal with kids who I want to say that's the age when they start to say, that's so gay, you're so gay as a
Yep.
put down.
Yep.
And
I hear it a
you're,
lot. Yeah.
and you were even mentioning now the kids are saying, you're a girl.
They'll say things like, "Oh, that's girly," like, "Oh, like, are you gonna paint your nails after that?" Like I'll hear things like that, just like stereotypical like crap. I shut it down when I do hear it, but there's also a lot of it that I don't hear. Anytime I hear that's so gay, I immediately call that out. And I was like, "Well, what do you mean by that?" And they're like, "Oh, no, I don't." I was like, "You're saying that that thing's dumb or that thing's wrong, right?" And they're like, "Yeah, like that's what I mean." I was like, "But you're calling it gay. I'm gay. Are you calling me dumb?" And they're like, "No, no, no, I would never." Because like they do respect me as a teacher. They're just not putting two and two together. To them, it's just a word. And I'm
Yeah.
like, "But it's more than just a word." And the couple times I've heard that and I've had this conversation with the kids, it's not often, but the few times I have, I feel like I got through to them. and I hope I have, but I can't be everywhere to teach you or just like correct you at all times. So I'm hoping that it sticks with them, and if it doesn't, I hope someone else calls them out on it.
Just the other day, I was at the park and a group of middle school girls started playing volleyball near me, and within minutes, they started saying, "You're so gay," or like if you hit the ball this way, you're gay. And
Oh, like
just
the
as
limp wrist way, like mm.
I had my back toward them, so I didn't know, but I'm listening to all this. And then at first I was thinking, oh, wow, how refreshing. They're not cussing or, all this stuff, right? And then right after I thought that the gay put down starts, and I'm thinking, oh, I jinxed this whole moment. And then I was about to get up to kind of just have a little conversation with them, like to bring it to their attention. Gee, I wonder how someone who's gay, me, would feel hearing you all say those, right? When I turn around to get up and one of their dads is sitting right there on the other park bench, not intervening, not saying shit. It was a really good lesson for me too, because, we always wonder, oh, gee, why doesn't the use of that die eventually, right? Why don't kids stop saying that? Well, I mean, here it is. It's a perfect example of why we teachers also are burdened with the task of having to have these conversations with the kids because clearly they're not happening elsewhere.
Like I said, we wear so many different hats. We are mom, dad, we're social emotional counselors, we are apparently dentists today, I found out. Like so many hats. And honestly, we don't get enough credit.
No.
We don't. Not even just like with the pay, just like appreciation in general. Even Teacher Appreciation Week. What do we get? Pizza? Thanks.
Depends on the school site, but yeah, it could be as shitty as pizza. The worst school I ever taught at gave us the fanciest teacher appreciation week, but I would have thrown all of that in the garbage to go back to teaching at a very rough and tumble school where I got the pizza or maybe a donut or maybe 2 week old cookies or something like that to have a more chillax experience in my classroom. Because some parents are fucking insane.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The helicopter bulldozer parents I cannot deal with. I cannot.
I don't know what's worse, parents that are like that, or the parents who just like, sorry, they're just too stupid to understand logic, and when you're explaining stuff, nah, blah, blah, and they just immediately get irate. Like, I don't know who's worse.
Yeah.
They are two ends of the spectrum that I don't want to be near.
Yes. So true. I forgot about those
Ugh.
scary parents. They're
I've had my encounters with them. Ugh. I've gotten assaulted by a parent once.
Did you really in
I
eight
did,
years?
and it wasn't even my student's parent. It was just a case of I was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Wow.
Yeah, it
You
has
were in the
nothing
line
to
of fire and you took a
do.
punch?
I got shoved into like slammed into a wall.
Oh my
Um,
gosh. What?
yeah, so I did like I'll make this one quick because this really has nothing to do with me being gay. Again, I was just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Okay.
I one of the duties I picked up because new teacher, give me all the extra money we can. Um,
Mm-hmm.
was just doing late pickup. So I stayed for an extra half hour for any kids who were like not picked up right away. And I wasn't like security. I was just like in the front lobby because it was just like where I could keep the kids and just easily get them outside.
Mm-hmm.
And this parent rang the bell. I went to the door and he was like, "Hi, I'm here to speak to the principal. Something happened, blah, 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 blah. And I'm really upset about it." "Okay, no problem. Can you wait here?" Sure, he waits there. I go get the principal, who just happens to still be there. Principal comes down. The minute the principal gets down there, that parent is like yelling, screaming, cursing. And I have like two 8-year-olds with me. So I'm like, "All right, come on, we're gonna leave." We go upstairs. Well, we go up to the office. Principal comes up a couple minutes later, tells the secretary, "Hey, call the police. I got him outside, and I told him that we'll talk when he calms down, but I just want an officer here." And then at that moment, like the radio went off that one of the kids who I had left over, their parents were here. So I was like, "All right, let's go." Just the other kid, I was like, "You stay here. I'm just gonna bring her." I was like, in my head, I'm like, "Oh, her mom's right there, and I'm just gonna hand her off and then close the door. Nothing's gonna happen." Nope. I go downstairs.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
the the way that my building works, and I hope every building works, you can't just enter, like it's locked from the outside, but
Yeah.
you can get this door, you could just like easily walk out because it's the main entrance. I open the door, I see this girl's mom, like I see her. I open the door, Girl walks out, and as the door's closing, this guy grabs the door and tries to come back inside. I'm like, no, sir, you have to wait out here. He's like, no, I'm coming in. And I'm like, my arm's blocking the door so he can't walk in. I was like, sir, wait here. And he just straight up grabs me and throws
Oh,
me out of the way. I hit the wall.
oh my gosh.
Luckily, the security guard was still there and he got up and like handled him. But yeah, that was fun.
What
I
the
ran
heck?
upstairs. I told the principal. They immediately, it's after school hours. They put the school into lockdown. So, any teachers that are like still in the
Yes.
building,
Yep.
they're like, well, this isn't a drill.
I know. They're like, what in the hell's happening?
Police came. I didn't get to leave until like 5 that day. We just were
Oh,
done at 3 because I had to give my statement to the police.
oh my
That
God.
parent was arrested. The superintendent called me just to be like, I'm so sorry. Like, please let me know if you need anything. And I haven't cashed in that favor. I don't think I ever will. But
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
that was fun.
And share with everyone who's listening. Let me guess. This parent was irate because what was it?
The gag is, I still to this day have no idea what the problem was because he
Oh,
was so irate, neither me nor the principal could even figure out what he was yelling about. The
wow.
kid was in first grade.
Yeah, that is a dangerous grade. Oh, don't
Oh my,
ever teach
like,
first grade.
so he was trying to go after the first grade teacher. And again, I was just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
I'm presuming you didn't press charges.
So when the police officer asked me, like, do you want to press charges? My principal immediately answered and went, he assaulted him. We're pressing charges. He needs to be arrested.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So I don't really know what happened after that. He was
Oh,
arrested. I got a couple letters in the mail about like him missing a court date or like the court date was set for this. I did not need to be present. And I was just kind of like, well, I don't want to be present. Like, leave me out
yeah.
of this. Someone else can deal
Yeah.
with it. It's on
Yeah.
camera, so whatever. I,
Yeah.
I don't know what ended up happening in the end. I think,
Jeez.
yeah.
Frightening. See, people, this is what teachers are dealing with on the daily around the country and probably the globe. I don't know.
Yeah, like, that's an extreme example, but it's not like it
Extreme.
doesn't happen.
No. Hello. I'm trying to tell everyone, not really. Who am I trying to tell? No. Back in the day when I was still teaching, my last year teaching, I taught first grade. I'm telling y'all, if you have not taught first grade, do not do it. Because parents of that age for some reason go loco. Super loco, super loco. And I'm like, we're talking about 6-year-olds here, people. You need to calm the
What?
fuck
Why do
down.
you think that is? Like, do
I
you
have
think
no
it's like
idea.
that's the first time the kid has to have any rules, or the first
And
time someone might say, precious little Bobby isn't precious little Bobby after all?
I, okay, it's not that I've really sat long and hard on this, but my quick idea on it is the first like real academic year, right? Like TK, kinder doesn't really count. You're still singing and dancing all day long and like, coloring and learning how to write and stuff like that. And so in first grade, kids really distinguish themselves in academic ways, if you get what I'm saying and get where I'm going, right?
Yeah.
So
Who are the shining stars? Who are more the struggling learners? Yeah.
exactly. And the school I was teaching at least big helicopter parent school, had a lot of politicians, doctors, lawyers, people who thought their poop didn't stink, those kind of people. Their kids were in my class. And these parents had such high expectations for their students. I've never met a more awesome group of kids in my whole life. Their children were bright, funny, capable, so amazing, but their parents were fucking insane. And their parents expected them to be reading at a sixth grade reading level. Now, most of them were reading at like a second, third grade reading level. That wasn't good enough for their parents. And so I was harassed all year long and just, oh, it was so stressful, so stressful.
You want your kid to be at a sixth grade reading level. Are you reading sixth grade books with them? Like,
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure they were. Oh, I'm sure they were. So many of them had them in private tutoring after school. And I'm thinking, this one mother, anyway, I won't go down that path. But where I was going with all of this is there was a dad of a boy. And the boy, this particular student did have special needs. Like he had a huge speech impediment. It was very challenging to understand anything this boy said. However, when anyone took a step back and said, well, let's look at his family life, shall we? So the parents were divorced because dad was a lunatic, flat out,
that'll
and
do it.
and a rager, like a big rageaholic, I could tell. Like the dad was just filled with rage. I've briefly talked about this dad in another episode, but I didn't go to my spring celebration that year, which was a big deal. I don't know if your school does a spring celebration every spring,
No.
showcasing student work. And, it's a big deal for me to be there at my classroom, talking with the parents who come by, and a lot of grandparents, a lot of family members, big community event. And I instead, after work that day, I helped my colleagues set everything up. I went to my chiropractor's because I was having really bad, shocker, neck pain that year. And I was talking with my chiropractor and I said, God, just I can barely move my neck. She's like, well, just go home and rest. And I said, I've got to go back to work. Spring celebration tonight. And she's like, don't go. And then I got word that this dad had gone to the school district to complain about me and complained that I had docked his son 5 points because he did the son's project anyway, right? You always can tell when a parent does, the work.
Love when the parents get mad that they didn't do well on a fifth grade project. It's my
Yes,
favorite.
that's what it was. This man was all up in arms that he didn't get 100%. And so he ended up going to the superintendent to complain about me. And it was awesome because I heard from my principal that they laughed him. Basically laughed him out of the district office, which was nice to hear, right? Like, not everyone's humoring idiots these days. And, or that was already a long time ago. But I was worried that he was going to come to the spring celebration too and just not with a
Just had a feeling.
weapon. Just, yeah, I had a feeling I did not feel safe. And so I didn't go. Not that he would have slammed me up against a wall, but I just,
Hey, there's
mm-mm.
no telling what they'll do. You never know with some of these parents. Sometimes, like, and part of me, like, wants to give them the benefit of the doubt. Like, I'm not a dad. I'm not having kids.
Yeah,
Again, it's a little hard for me to have kids, but not impossible.
yeah,
But I could see me go fighting tooth and nail for my child. But there's also a sense of like, be real. Like, this is
yeah,
not that deep.
yeah. It's first grade. It was 5 points. It's still an A. Like, it's just, what is happening? What is happening, people? Anyway, it was a great, I learned so many lessons from that one experience, which I won't go into now. I know you've had that issue with the one set of parents, going to the principal, reporting you're gay. And then I'm wondering how you navigate other issues with parents.
So there was one other time I was reported to my principal for being gay, but this one was kind of a miscommunication on the kid's part. It was 2 years later. I'm set. I got this. I know what to do at this point. And at this point, I didn't do just like, oh, I'm gay. That's a little bit about me. I did. This classroom is a safe space. That's what this flag means. This class. I don't care if you're black, white, pink, purple. I'm naming all colors. I don't care if you're Catholic, atheist, if you worship pasta. That's a religion apparently. And I tell them that too. They laugh at that. Um, and I'm like, I don't care what your religion is. Everyone is welcome here. Kid hears Mr. doesn't care about my religion, and then he tells his parents that.
Oh, what?
So
Oh,
that time was, I understand, but at the same time, that is not what I said.
right.
So I get called into the principal's office, and this time it's the principal and the vice principal. I'm in my class, and a teacher comes to the room and says, Hey, they need to see you in the office. I'm here to cover you. That's never a good sign.
In the
So
middle of the day?
in the middle of the day, yeah. So I'm just like, all right, well, now, of course, I'm running through everything in my head. I'm like, it's like the third day of school. What the frig did I do already? Like,
Oh my
so I
gosh.
get in there and I'm not in trouble. My principal is, even if like the parent has proof of something, the principal always wants to hear our side first and
Nice.
then he handles it. Again,
Nice.
love that.
Yeah.
Don't love everything my principal does, but he's very good when it comes to backing his teachers. So I get into the office. He explains to me the email he got, and he just like wants to know like what happened. And I said, well, actually, this is what I said. And like I told him the story, and he was like, oh, so you were actually trying to promote positivity and inclusivity. The kid takes it the wrong way. Got it. He was like, next time, just be a little careful with your words. Maybe don't use the words I don't care. Just a suggestion. Got it. Thanks
Oh,
so
yeah.
much.
Mm.
And then at that moment, my principal asked, can I ask you a question that might be unprofessional? And if it is, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be unprofessional. And I was just like,
I
yes.
know, right? Jeez.
And he was just like, why do you feel like this is now the second time that, parents has said something about, you and your sexuality. Why do you feel the need to disclose that information? Like, I'm sorry if that's like crossing a boundary. He was so apologetic immediately. Like, he doesn't want to be incorrect. Like, he
Mm.
really wants, he tries his best to be on point with everything.
Okay.
And I was like, that's a great question. And because representation matters, no matter what, even no matter how hard parents try, kids are going to be gay if they're gay.
Yeah.
And odds are I will have at least one gay or kid who's questioning themselves in my class. I need them to see that it's okay, that you can be successful and be who you are.
Yeah.
And I know how my principal works. So I even backed it up with like another example. I was like, it's the same reason back in the 60s, it was important to see African American people being successful because of the whole
Mm,
civil rights movement. Like representation matters. And like he looked at me and was like, I can't argue anything against that. Like that is the perfect answer. You have every right. And he was like, I support it. Keep going, kid. And I was like, thanks.
thanks. No. Well, and I get so feisty sometimes. I probably would have said something like, I'm not doing anything different than any of the other teachers on this campus are
No, we're
doing.
not. Not at
Right?
all.
You're saying you have a boyfriend. Everyone else like, here's my husband. Here are our kids.
Oh, I love when the teacher announces to the kids, like, guys, I'm pregnant. Like, oh, way to tell the kids that you just like had sex. Great. Love that.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
they don't think about it that way. It's just like,
Mm,
for some reason, the queer community is just like so sexualized
so sexualized.
immediately. Like, that's a part of it. It's also part of straight culture. You're telling me you don't have sex? It's literally the way that we keep the population up. Like, enough. It's
Right.
human biology.
Yeah, it is very frustrating because it's so hypocritical. There's so much contradiction going on. And we queer people, our culture is so sexualized in a very odd way. And I always want to know how, when, where, and why, because I would love for someone, a gay historian, to do this research on how this came to be, why queerness is so sexualized. Because even another lesbian friend of mine, I don't know if I talked about this in another episode, but she was reading a book to her class and it's called Prince and Me or something like that. I don't remember it exactly. And when she was telling me about the book, I was like, "Oh, tell me about the book." And she's like, "Oh, it's a great book." And then it's about this prince and a knight and they fall in love happily ever after.
Yes,
And
yes,
they
I do remember hearing this.
and they even kiss at the end. And so I go to YouTube to see the read aloud, right? Because I'm going to go and buy every gay book, although I should. I
No,
should go and buy
absolutely not.
every gay book. And so I'm listening to this book, and you know how they have the pictures in the YouTube videos too. And I get to the end, and I was like, oh, I can't believe that there's a kiss at the end. And, none of my friend's parents complain that she's, reading a kissing book because I think she's teaching first grade right now. I said to her, girl, there is no kissing at the end of this book. What are you talking about? You, as a gay person, just did the thing. What? Why? Even us, even we are guilty of it too. And I don't know if that's internalized homophobia, what it is, but she sexualized the story. And there's no kiss in that book.
A gay kiss in a book. Oh my God, so scandalous. I
Mm,
remember in
mm,
eighth grade reading The Diary of Anne Frank, and
mm.
there's a whole section where she's fondling her breast. She's straight up masturbating.
Oh, I don't remember that part.
Oh, I remember it because I read it 85 times because I was in eighth grade, and of course I would. Like, I remember her saying, like, she was like fondling her breasts and just like things felt. It's her diary. It's a kid's write like, but that's okay to read about and write about,
Right.
enough. I know. Ugh.
Interesting. You probably have it a little bit better than any queer ELA teacher around your same age group because I think with all the literature, right? Even though you're reading that book to your class, I think it just opens them up to so much more criticism and harassment from parents.
I don't teach language arts, but like I just read that at the end of the year. We're talking about My Shadow is Purple, right? That's the book that you
Yeah.
were referring to.
Yeah.
I do it because it's June. I know my kids at that point, and I don't spin it in like a queer way. I spin it in like a raise your hand if you ever weren't true to yourself because you thought it wouldn't be cool. Like
Mm.
any of you like just think to yourself, you like that song that may be a little girly, or you like that sport that might be a little masculine. I thought that's how I word it. And like
Okay.
I teach when I get to that book, it's always like, all right, be who you are. Because you see at the end, and the kids are
Yeah.
like, oh, that's cute. Whatever. They don't really think anything of it, but it's meaningful that I do it. I know that it's the right thing to do. But I remember my language arts teacher, she gave the kids like an open-ended, like critical thinking question that was state approved. It was part of the book about, oh, would you change your name or like things like that. I remember a parent got like really pissy with her, like, that's inappropriate. I don't remember why they were so mad, but I remember like my co-teacher, she was in her 40s. Like she's no longer with us. She moved on and she's a guidance counselor now.
Mm.
But she just went, this question came from this book, which is part of this curriculum, which is state approved by this person. If you have an issue with them, tell them about it.
Yeah.
I just left it at that. Like she was like, I'm not dealing with this crap.
Brilliant.
But I remember at the
Brilliant.
time being like, you said that to a parent? You went back at a parent? And that
Yes.
now I
Yes.
clap back if I can, I'll clap back.
But I'm wondering, was that woman gay?
No, teacher
Yeah.
wasn't gay.
Okay.
Just the dad thought it was inappropriate. Like, I guess I do remember like that child's parents were going through a divorce. So I don't know, maybe the situation just hit a little too close at
Yes.
home for his guilt and situation. And I'm just like,
Yep.
all right,
And
that sounds like you're projecting a problem, but
yes. And that happens all the time when something throughout the year hits a nerve with a parent. And then I think it just takes a really strong individual, which I think now that I've been out of the classroom as long as I've really worked on that part of me, that strength within me, because I think I was far too accommodating, far too nice, far too much of a pushover with parents. And then they thought they knew, right, that they could just come at me all the time.
if they smell weakness, they'll pounce.
Yes, they will.
I've learned that over the years. Like I used to give a little too much information and too much detail when explaining a
Yes,
situation. Like the more you give them, the more that they'll like use against you.
I
Like
tell you.
parents come at me now and I'm 8 years in. I know what I'm doing
Yeah.
and I know how to approach every situation. I, at this point, just like my principal, I know how to cross my T's, dot my I's. I know what I'm doing is not incorrect.
Yeah.
LOL. So like when they come at me, like I'm always just back, I go back and I'm like, well, this is how I do it in my classroom, in my professional opinion. I would love to hear how you would do it in your classroom.
Do you say that to them
Sometimes.
about your classroom business?
Yeah, like, by all means, when you have a classroom and you have a degree in this, please let me know.
Yeah, I would love to
Um,
say
they
that to so many people.
like they forget we have a degree in this.
Yeah,
It's not, that old saying, like those who can't do teach. That is so not fucking true.
right.
Oh my God. Like, absolutely not. I go home and tell stories to like my friends or like my family, and they're like, that didn't happen. You're making that. No, it happened. I promise you it happened.
Yep. Well, Robbie, thank you so much for coming on, sharing your experiences with all of us, talking shop with me.
Thank you for having me. I was really like excited to finally get in. I'm a fan of the podcast. I'm gonna keep listening for future episodes. I hope I don't hate how my voice sounds on this next when I hear me, but thank
I'm
you so
sure
much.
you.
It's been fun.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for coming on. And is there any last thing you'd like to share with everyone?
Last thing that I could share, one other part about me. I am part of the marching arts, specifically color guard. I compete in Winter Guard International. Hopefully someone on this podcast knows what that is. I am currently ranked second in the nation. Shout out Fusion Winter Guard. So like that's a gay thing that I'm doing right now. I am performing on weekends in like a tight little outfit, throwing flags and guns in the air and dancing.
Oh my gosh, I did that in high school. I was
Did you
on,
really?
we called the dance guard and then what sometimes silks, flag team, blah blah. Yeah, I did it all throughout high school.
I continued it past high school. That's another thing I coach. And this year, yeah, I turned 30 this year. So I was like, once I hit 30, I can't do this anymore. Just my brain, how
Mm.
it works. So I wanted one last year where I could go and perform and do the thing one last time. I keep calling it my Sharewell tour.
Ah,
Um,
love
so
it.
yeah, that wraps up in about a month when we compete in the World Championships
Oh
in
my gosh.
in Dayton, Ohio, of all places.
That's so fun. You know what, as a kid, as a high schooler, I never even thought that that was something that continued in college until I saw some people doing it in college and I was like, "Oh, why aren't I doing this in college?" I loved it.
It's really cool when people who don't know what the activity is watches a video and they're like, "Oh my God, this is like a whole production." Yes, it is.
Yes. Yes, it is. Well, you beat me to my question. I am going to ask you what gay thing or things you've been doing lately are, and I know now that Winter Guard is one of them. Anything else
Yeah,
you'd like to share with everyone?
I mean, other that, just, living with a man. Hopefully, things go well and I get a piece of jewelry. That's
Ooh.
something we've started to dabble in talking about. So, that's exciting. Otherwise, just being a gay man. That's the gayest thing I'm doing right now.
Yes. And thank you so much for the work you do with the students you're impacting. And thank you all so much for listening. I'm still working on an outro for this, so if anyone has any ideas, send them my way.
I like your ring ring classes starting. I like that. I like your intro. But yeah, I'm excited to hear whatever the outro is that you come up with.
All right, y'all. Well, here comes the outro music.